Welcome to The Joyful Exchange, a podcast from Foundation for the Nations, also known as FFTN.
Ever wish there was a philanthropic, Christ-centered giving vehicle where you decide the giving and have fun doing it? Welcome to FFTN.
FFTN aims to draw together Youth for Christ projects from around the world with those who have the capacity to help them. Our motto is wealth into worth for the world, and our desire is to help those who are cash rich but time poor to make good decisions about where to invest their hard-earned money. Our FFTN staff and board have over 200 years' experience in working within the Youth for Christ family. Youth for Christ uniquely reaches young people in ways that are relevant to them in the context of their culture and life circumstances, giving every young person in every nation an opportunity to be a follower of Jesus Christ. For more details, see the links in the podcast bio.
The other week, we came back from church to find the Joyful Exchange podcast playing out the speaker, and neither of us had put it on. Neither of us had gone, oh, we need to put the Joyful Exchange podcast on because it's Sunday, and we put the radio on. I think we just hello, my virtual AI friend, play this genre of music so there's noise in the house of the dog while we're out. And came back and I'm like,
very good.
It's really odd. That sounds like David Schultz.
I wonder, do these podcasting platforms have a dog listenership? And if we're number one in the dog listening world to podcasts?
But then it just carried on from there, and then we're just making food and just listening to the Joyful Exchange.
I mean, that's our USP, you know.
Welcome to the Joyful Exchange, a dog-friendly podcast brought to you.
Let's crack on with this. Welcome to the podcast. Martin works with Youth for Christ International as their digital Media Ministries Director, along with his wife, Sam.
Thank you, Simon. Well, it's great to be here on the Joyful Exchange podcast. As Simon said, I'm Martin Ainsworth, and I live in the north of England. I'm technically based in the Denver office, though because I'm in England, I only have to visit the office maybe once or twice a year. So it's kind of like the ideal working scenario. I'm the director of Media Ministries, and it's a real interesting role. I get to serve the nations. I get to visit our people all around the world and help them become more professional, more effective in their media, in their video production, in their photography, to not only engage young people, but donors, supporters, prayer partners, and just try and do it in a more professional way to build those communities.
And even just catch us up family-wise. Who's at home? But I know that there's you, Sam, and we've already heard the dog, who's an avid Joyful Exchange podcast listener.
The dog is my daughter's dog that we were dog sitting. And when we came home, the dog was listening to the Joyful Exchange podcast, and we were just slightly perplexed. So the dog is my daughter's dog. My daughter, Jess, is the eldest of my 4 children. She's currently 35 years old. She has 3 children, so that's 3 grandchildren so far. Jacob, he's married with 2 children. That gives me 2 more grandchildren. And then I've got a son, Samuel, who's 27, and a daughter, Megs, who's 25. Every day they will ring their mum. Sam has between 4 and 8 business meetings a day with our children.
Tell us, because obviously this podcast, I mean, we might as well date it. We're doing this just pre-Christmas. We might throw in there a little bit of Christmas music. You've told me before about a Christmas tradition that you have regarding grandkids coming over. There might be some coordinated pajamas this year. Is that the thing, or what?
I didn't think we were going to talk about this. This is like
sorry if this is awkward. We could pull it out.
No, it's fine. No, I'm joking. So every year we have the grandma and grandpa Christmas extravaganza, and as the grandchildren are getting bigger, the eldest grandchild is 10, the youngest is 1. You kind of go, what traditions can we build into Christmas? What can we do? Yeah. We bought Christmas pajamas for everybody. I mean, that's 5 grandchildren and 2 grandparents. We then put everybody's names on the pajamas. And so we then have the Christmas picture with all the pajamas and the chaos that goes on alongside that. We just basically fill kids with sugar for a weekend and just have a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we do a couple of weeks before Christmas because Christmas gets busy. You
Yeah.
know, it's harder to pull everybody together. But again, we're building a tradition. But again, we don't know where it's going to lead. We don't know what's going to happen, how crazy the pajamas are going to get. We also have a snowball fight every day.
Okay.
We bought snowballs, these little fabric snowballs. So then when we went to church on Sunday morning with all the kids, and the grown-ups are kind of going, hey, kids, you've been with your grandparents. What did you do? And they're like, we did a snowball fight every day. And we're
Wow.
looking out going, there's no snow. So two traditions, pajamas and snowball fights.
Love it. Love it. So that's family. Then what about the journey to being involved with Youth for Christ International in this ministry, looking at media and digital evangelism and discipleship and all of that? What was the journey to that?
The story of that is Sam, my wife, went to a women's conference. We're talking, it must be nearly 15 years ago. So she goes to a women's conference, and one of the big things that they asked, they said, if God could give you the desire of your heart, what would you ask for? So she comes back and she looks at me straight in the eyes. She says to me, if God could give you the desires of your heart, what would you ask for? And I was like, oh, this is a really interesting question. And I really didn't spend much time thinking about it because I knew. I said, now at the time, just to put this in context, I ran a video production company. I never been a youth worker, only been involved in ministry within my own church, as in holiday clubs, Sunday school type of things, never been anything formal. So I said, the desire of my heart is to use my media skills and to travel the world, to be able to put the skills that I have to use and travel the world. And she just kind of looked at me, and there was this kind of awkward silence and awkward pause. And she just went, oh. I later found out that she was a little upset because I didn't say anything family related. So that was Saturday night. Sunday morning, a friend got in touch, and the friend was currently the wife of the area director for Asia Pacific Youth for Christ. And she said, Neil wants to ask you a question, but he doesn't know if it's the right time or the wrong time, or even if you can. And so she's asking Sam, she's not reaching out to me. And she says, Neil would like Martin to do a media project, a video that reflects the work of Youth of Christ across Asia Pacific. It'll see him traveling to various countries across Asia Pacific, and just creating this video. There's no budget. We don't really know how it's going to work. All we know is we feel really called to ask you. Take some time and think about it.
That sounds very Youth for Christ. There's no budget. We're not sure where it'll go, but God is in it and we'll have a go at it.
And so within that, you just go, I can't say no, because last night I asked God, if God could give you the desire of your heart, God, this is what I'd really like. In less than 24 hours, I think in about 8 hours, he then delivered. It wasn't even a consideration. The only thing was, I'm going to have to do 4 or 5 trips across Asia Pacific from the UK. That's going to be expensive. The church is currently doing a massive building project, so it's going to be really tricky to ask people for money. So we thought, we'll just get a loan. We'll figure this out. So we went to our vicar and we said, look, this is what's happening. Obviously, the church is in the middle of a project at the moment that's big, so it's unfair to ask the church. Our vicar, the Reverend Francis Winena, went absolutely ballistic with us. And he said, no. We're like, oh, you can't do the project? He goes, no, you cannot deny people the opportunity to walk with you.
Yes.
Oh, this is really interesting. He says, you ask God, God's connected you with the people to make it happen. Now you need to find the people that are going to journey with you. And we were just like, this is really interesting. We suddenly tried to do it under our own steam, under our own power, and not kind of really acknowledge that God had made those first stages for us. And then instead of trusting him going forward, we were then trying to still do it in our own strength, in our own power, which was completely wrong. Our vicar realigned us, and we're just like, absolutely. So we just kind of stood at the front church and we're like, hey, everybody, this is what's going to happen if you'd like to support. And Generosity was amazing. Our local community, our church, just absolutely stepped up in ways that I didn't even think was possible.
Incredible. Such a great encouragement for anybody else listening in from the perspective of perhaps having to raise money for something that the Lord has called them to, thinking, how do we do it? But maybe more thinking, who are the people that we can give an opportunity to in terms of it being a mutual blessing to invite them in to the process. Then how has it developed then over the last number of years to what it currently is today?
I mean, the way that media has changed and evolved from, I mean, even 15 years ago, we were putting tapes in cameras and we were recording video. The thought of actually putting a tape in a camera now is so old school. I think the kids call it vintage. The whole of the internet was in its infancy and is slowly matured and grown. Now, the platforms that we use on a daily basis, the platforms that our young people access, even the ones that the staff access, many of them didn't even exist 5 years ago,
Yeah.
let alone 10 years ago. There's stuff emerging now, and everything is constantly changing. What's interesting is it's all still about community building. It's all still about engaging. It's just become faster, slicker, more colorful. It's quicker to produce. But so in the kind of like in the traditional form, it still has the same base level components in there. You know, you record something, you edit something, you output something, you upload something. It's just so much faster. The
Yeah.
turnaround is so much faster. The way we consume stuff is so much faster.
And that's what I was going to ask you, because I think what you're saying there, the creative process is still the same. You still need to know how to visualize and tell the story and grab people's attention. But now the attention, I don't want to say it's nanoseconds, but that piece has certainly shrunk to what young people are willing to give their attention to is a very short window these days.
The whole reason that I then joined Youth for Christ was staff were frustrated with getting bad training, bad advice about equipment, and frustrated by the results of the media that they put out for young people to consume. Our typical youth worker is not a media specialist. It's this assumption that because they are young and they're youth workers, oh, they know how to use media, they know how to make a video. And yes, it is becoming easier, but at heart, they are still youth workers that want to go to a youth club or a drop-in center and just talk to young people about Jesus. Then we've added this extra layer of media that they have to exist within these online platforms and connect with young people digitally. And it's almost like a rabbit in the headlights. They're like, what do I do?
Yeah.
So having a team of people who can go, do you know what? We got you covered. Let's work together, show you how to produce short form content to engage in platforms like YouTube Shorts and TikTok, how to create those longer, more engaging kind of testimonial videos that will reach out and really set the scene about what you as a ministry are trying to achieve.
Yeah.
When you kind of break it down into a process with steps that is achievable, you see the kind of panic leave the eyes and the color go back into the faces, but it's still about building communities.
Yeah.
Guys, why don't you just take a moment and grab a coffee really fast? I'm going to take some time and explain to our listeners how they could get involved if they like. The good news is there are two phenomenal ways. So the first is as an enabling partner, you can commit to pray, and if you'd like, you can contribute monthly to help the foundation keep its wheels on the road, whether it's $5 or $50 a month. The other way is, as a project partner, you can sit around the table at one of our annual gatherings and give your hard-earned cash with confidence to some of these wonderful projects that we've been discussing.
It's even interesting that if you think of, I'm just thinking of Billy Graham's day, he had a platform. It was a physical thing that he stood on in front of an audience of hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
And yet today, we're still talking about the same platform. It's just that it's a digital platform. And we're saying in the same way that Billy Graham had to work at his craft in terms of communication and all of that, our national directors around the world and their teams are having to work at these different platforms in order to be good, in order to have a following first so that they can share the gospel and engage young people through that. How do you follow up with that community in such a way that the goal is then real world engagement, where young people are actually then together in person, in physical community?
I've always said previously that if you're spending more time creating digital content and existing in digital platforms than you are face to face with young people, then you're doing it completely wrong. We're always about the relational.
You've traveled the world and trained teams of people in how to maximize their media potential. Just share with us a little bit of maybe one or two of those experiences, and where would you say, oh, I saw God working clearly?
What's really interesting is how much we have to adapt in those situations. Fantastic example is we ran a digital academy in India. We partnered with a few different organizations and we said, look, we're going to pioneer digital academy. And we decided that we would probably be able to cope with 20 young influencers, people that were creating content that wanted to improve their skills. And so we set the minimum entry requirements as you need to arrive with a laptop and a camera and be available for 1 week. And we assembled a team of specialists, a team of mentors that would then journey with their young people going forward. And we all organized and all excited. So we built a curriculum around DSLR cameras and lenses and the software we've prepped up, all the stuff we were going to do. We ended up then, I think it was 60 instead of 20 young people came because they kept expanding it. Not one single person arrived with a camera. Not one single person arrived with a laptop. They all arrived with smartphones and a desire to share the gospel with their friends.
Yeah.
And it was one of those interesting things where everyone just looked at me and they were like, what are we going to do? And I said, what a fantastic opportunity. And they're like, but all the curriculum's written. I'm like, the principles are still the same.
Yeah.
Using your phone or using a digital camera isn't really any different. You still have the same rule of third, the same way that you compose a shot, the same way you lock exposure, the same way you maintain 3 points of contact and you move it around. The only difference is they've got a smartphone, so their studio is completely contained in their hand.
Yeah.
So we adapted the entire week's curriculum because we saw 60 enthusiastic influencers wanting to share the gospel with their friends. And they said, yes, I have a camera. Yes, I have a laptop. Yes, I have experience, because nobody would give them the opportunity. We'd actually set the bar too high. We'd actually gone, this is what we would like for the minimum entry requirements for you to join. We treated it more like a university or a college course.
Yeah.
Not an opportunity to gather a community of evangelists who wanted media skills. So when you say, how have you seen God moving? God assembled those people and said, I know you've got this planned. That's not what I want you to do. The excitement and the enthusiasm from the guys for the week was it was amazing.
To have all those influencers come together to be trained to then be sent out to create content and connect with their communities is just fantastic. You can see the multiplication of that as well. 60 young people with a heart to share their faith with others in their community. You could see how that would just continue to expand, which is wonderful. What excites you about the current and future digital media space, and what concerns might you have as well?
We are in the infancy of some exciting things that are happening. Phones are studios, platforms are global. We're only limited by time and resources and the confidence to exist in those spaces. No matter how fast-paced the media is changing, no matter what trends are going, it's still all about the desire to be plugged into a community, to be liked and loved. And that's no different in the digital spaces. They're moving so, so fast.
So listen, you had made a project for the partners to consider, and that was last year. And it was within this area of AI and translation. So give us a little bit of the why you made the project, and then maybe some examples of how you've seen it used effectively more recently and where you see it going then in the future.
So one of the main reasons for putting in the application was that the significant amount of time and energy that it was taking to record and re-record simple content for training for the different platforms and programs that are out there. So, for example, the kind of Superman, Superwoman, even down to some of what we call Strength Finder training, the way in which we hone into the skills of our staff globally. And then for myself, from a digital media perspective, creating content and then trying to work out how to actually not just create content that was English with subtitles in different languages or a transcript. There were platforms emerging that allowed not only the translation of the audio, but it would sample your voice so it still sounded like you. And then it was able to translate. I started the research of which platforms can do this, looking at HeyGen, looking at Vimeo's, got some great tools in there, 11 Labs, and all of these different platforms that are doing it. Did a few samples and put them out there to test, because it's like, great, if we can translate this content, are the translations any good? So I put some translations out there, asked our native speakers, are these any good? And the feedback was overwhelmingly positive. They're just like, it wasn't, oh yeah, that's okay. It was like, that's amazing. Hey, listen, I got some videos that I'd love you to translate. We've got some resources. We're translating content for presentations, for training, for different things around the world already. It's so, so exciting, having people coming forward saying, hey, I understand we have access to this platform. I'd really like to do this. And you're just like, let's go for it. Let's just see where it goes. We've got God at the center. We've now got some amazing funding that actually gives us access to these platforms. Let's go.
I remember seeing a video clip that you had recorded of yourself just describing this, and you did that in English. And then with the click of a button, it was you and your lips speaking in Spanish to then switch to Russian, and then from Russian to something else. I think within the foundation, we love to see projects that not only are going to benefit one nation, but are going to benefit multiple nations, if not, have a global impact. So it was encouraging for us to receive the project and also to see it get funded. So that was great. Listen, as you begin to dream about Youth for Christ, using some of these AI tools, some of the media platforms and all of that, what's the big dream that you have on your heart for the movement that is Youth for Christ?
Digital academies, creating spaces where our youth workers that are passionate about media can receive the training, the equipment, the resources that they need. We've started building that in Europe, Middle East, North Africa, so our MENA region and the Americas. We're using Discord and what we're calling the Influencer Academy. So we've started gathering our content creators, our influencers from those two different areas into two very specific communities to start that process. And then what does it look like? What does a digital academy, knowing that we did it in India and it looked nothing like we planned, let's start with our community and then ask them, what should we do? Rather than that old fashioned way of, this is what we think you need. And then we turn up and they go, oh no, that's not what we need because this is what we have available. That we have that ability just to flex in digital spaces, the absolute benchmark of excellence, and that we can just really build those communities, plug young people into local churches and just see transformation around the world.
Unbelievable. Great. Wonderful. And here, any last thoughts just from yourself?
I think my last thought is, don't be afraid of digital spaces. Don't be afraid to try to be a content creator, to put stuff out there and test the water.
Yeah.
A lot of the time people are afraid to even just try because they're like, oh, I don't have the skills. Oh, I'm not entirely sure. Just give it a try.
And just for our listeners, I mean, Martin lives in the UK. I live in Ireland. Martin strapped all the podcasting equipment that I was going to need onto his motorbike, and he drove here and then did a day with myself and just training me in how to use the technical stuff along with the software and all of that. And I would say I would consider myself to be tech savvy-ish from a user point of view and usability point of view. Martin was asking me a technical question earlier, and the only answer I had for him was, I plug it in and I press record. And it can be that simple, folks. Martin, it's been brilliant to have you on and just to hear how the Lord is moving in those digital spaces. So this is called the Joyful Six, as our listeners are aware, but this time it's Christmas themed. So Martin, quickly, real tree or fake tree, and why?
Real tree. The house smells amazing, but it takes ages to hoover up all of the pine needles afterwards.
Best Christmas movie of all time.
Best Christmas movie of all time, Back to the Future.
Okay.
However, that's the all-time classics. It's always on Christmas Day. It's my favorite film. But whatever the BBC put out, so like The Gruffalo, Stickman, amazing Christmas animations that come out that you just sit around with the family and watch and cry.
Love those. Julia Donaldson books, animated, fantastic. Love it. Okay, carols on repeat or Christmas music banned until December?
That's a bit of a debate. Christmas FM in the car, but when it gets to 2 weeks, so like you're at, we're 17th of December if we're going to date stamp this now. Christmas carols are allowed in moderation.
Yep, okay. All things in moderation.
All things in moderation. We are British, you know.
Love it. Worst Christmas gift you've ever received?
This was a tricky one because I'm like, it sounds cheesy. I can't remember getting a bad present. I can remember being disappointed as a kid not getting what I wanted. But I was blessed with amazing in-laws, Samantha's parents, who did this trick that we've continued on, which is you get a small present for the kids and they think that's it, but then you bring out the big gift when they think.
Nice. So you've never been disappointed. And what about we flip that and say worst gift you've ever given?
Oh, plenty of those. Plenty of those. Worst gift is, I got Sam a personal organizer when we were newly married, and she just cried. So worst present. So I have a good track record of giving some really bad presents.
Okay, I love that, the personal organizer here. I think you'll need this.
Organize your life and our 4 children. I'll slip off to work, darling.
Yeah, it's one of those gift that gives, you know.
That's it.
I actually, this year, Hannah has actually given me the Christmas presents she wants me to wrap and give back to her. So that's how bad last year was. Okay, early present opener or strict wait until Christmas Day?
All right, 2 sides to this. When the kids have gone to bed, you get 1 present each.
Nice.
However, Samantha is a serial, can't wait, will unwrap presents and then wrap them back up. She definitely did that as a kid. I'm sure she still does it as a grown-up, but she doesn't really admit to it.
Last one for us. What's one Christmas tradition that you never skip?
Christingle. So we have this thing called Christingle, which says the Christmas service on Christmas Eve. It's an hour long. We get an orange with a candle and some fruit, and the whole of the community where I live come together. So much so that we've to have 2 services. It fills the church twice. So that's a fantastic tradition that this year family are coming over and we're going to go. So I'm looking forward to actually just being present in that service with the family.
Very nice. Very nice. Martin, like I said, it's been great to talk to you. Thanks for all that you do for the nations of the world through Youth for Christ and for Sam as well. And look forward to seeing how all this AI and digital ministry develops as we move forward. Thanks for your time and looking forward to catching up with you soon.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
You've been listening to the Joyful Exchange podcast. For more details, see www.fftn.org/joyfulexchange. Email us at joyfulexchange@fftin.org. fftn.org.